Hi. Our world is pretty noisy right now, wouldn't you agree? And I wanted to take some time to create a 4-video series to talk about what happens when we start to sit in silence. My name is Beth Claxton. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a board certified obstetrician gynecologist, OBGYN. I'm certified in functional medicine through the Institute for Functional Medicine, and I teach mindfulness-based stress reduction, the 8-week course that teaches people how to lower their stress by learning how to meditate. I've been teaching this course for over 10 years, and I have watched so many people transform their lives. And I thought that this time was a really good time to talk about what happens when we begin to honor the silence around us. It's so easy to grab our phones and be distracted. It's so easy to turn on background music or the TV or have mindless chatter with the person sitting next to us. It's so easy to follow the news. It's an election year. Follow the news, get the updates, worry about what's going on. So today we're going to talk about the first thing, the first of 4 things that happen in my mind. There are lots of things that happen when we turn off the background chatter. These are the main 4 that I've noticed in my life as I begin to turn down the background noise. So the first thing that happens is we begin to think, we begin to become aware of the thoughts that are going through our mind. These can look like stories. They can look like reels on repeat about how I was right, how they were wrong, how this could have been done differently. This is in the past. We can go to the past, we can become righteous, we can go in the future and create fantasies. We can also become quite aware of the limiting beliefs. This is like a little bit further on. Once we become aware of our thoughts, we begin to notice that there are limiting beliefs happening in our brain. So all of this is going on. And why? Why do the thoughts happen? So the thoughts happen because our brain, this is what it does. It thinks. It thinks. This is electricity in our brain going through past processes, responding to emotions, responding to feelings, responding to events that are happening around us. And it's really not responding, it's reacting. It is like a reflex. When you get your knees hit in the doctor's office and they're checking your reflex, that impulse from hitting the knee goes into the spinal cord and back out the knee. It never gets to the brain. There is never any thinking that happens with that reflex. So when we are fed these messages from the outside by listening to what's going on around us or distracting ourselves, we have a lot of reflex thoughts, reflex emotions that happen. This is the mind trying to protect us by creating stories, and maybe from past situations, it's saying, hey, remember when this happened? We don't want that to happen again. So we're going to think this, we're going to do this, and I'm going to protect you by telling you this. How do we even know that that's going to happen again? We don't. This is what happens. There's also a lot of ego involved. Our ego is very alive. It's very well. Our ego wants to protect us. So this happens, these thoughts, these reactions, these reflexes are the mind doing what it does and protecting us, and the ego full force ahead, protecting us as well. So what do these result in? What do these thoughts, these reactions, what do they result in? They result in stress. We generally, It rarely happens that we're listening and we feel super duper relaxed. Potentially, if we're listening to something that we have decided to make us relaxed by listening to it, generally our brain will go to other things to protect us. Danger, especially in our world right now. We want to protect, we want to defend, so we get defensive. We can also begin to shut down. We can shut down to what's happening really on the outside, and we begin to create a wall. We can begin to have the sympathetic responses of fight, flight, or freeze. We can fall into old patterns very, very easily. We can try to please people. Our personality disorders, they all come into play. We are working in an unconscious state of mind. So that is what happens, one thing, when we turn down the noise. You can try it. People don't like to listen. I mean, sit in silence. They don't want to listen to nothing because the brain wants to fill it up. What happens then? We do begin to become aware of what's happening in our mind, what the mind is starting to say, and it can be incredibly unpleasant. So I'd like to deviate just a little bit, and I'll do this with each of the 4 progressions that we're going to talk about. What does this look like in the body? What does this reactionary type of mindset, when we turn down the music, turn off the TV, put down our phones and don't look at the news, we don't have mindless chatter, we elect to sit in silence, and we are filled with thoughts of catastrophes, we can get sympathetic, the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system starts to really engage. What does this look like in the body? And I want to take a little caveat, or not even caveat, but story, and let you know that when anyone goes, and I've experienced this myself, when we go to do silent retreats, I've done 5 and 10-day silent retreats. You can do these at meditation centers. It's very interesting that now there is a waiting list for people to go sit for 10 days and do nothing but sit in silence. The first day is really hard. The first day is actually quite painful, and it's a withdrawal from the outside world. We're so used to reacting. We're so used to, so used to all of the things that we have coming at us that it becomes quite painful. So let's talk about what this looks like in the body. These thoughts, the sympathetic nervous system, the reactivity, the reflexes, the stress, defensiveness, shutdown, freeze, old patterns. How does that translate into the body, into our own physiology? It looks like inflammation. It looks like anxiety. You can see them right here. I'm going to tilt. You can see it on, there we go. It looks like depression. If we can't get away from it, if we feel like we have no choice and we have no power, that can start to look like depression. It looks like fatigue, brain fog, shutdown. It looks like leaky gut. This neural inflammation that slows down or shuts down the vagus nerve tone, goes down to the gut and our internal organs in our body, and they do not work like they need to work. So this is the energy of leaky gut. It's the energy of insulin resistance. It's the energy of constipation, diarrhea, and insomnia. So am I saying that when we master our thoughts that these will go away? No. When we start to master our thoughts by learning meditation and learning to quiet the mind, this gives the body a space for healing. This creates a space where the body can heal. If we keep doing the same thing, it's going to be really hard to heal. What happens physiologically? Our vagus nerve tone goes down. That is our parasympathetic rest, digest, nourish. That goes away. Our heart rate variability goes down significantly. Heart rate variability is a measure of resilience. It's a measure of how we can fight infections, how we can bounce back. Our heart rate variability goes down in these situations. And we are at the mercy of the sympathetic nervous system. So that is day one. What happens when we start to sit in silence? We begin to notice our thoughts. Our thoughts can take control of us, and our thoughts can begin to run the show. Tune in tomorrow, where we'll talk about the second thing that can happen when we start to turn down the noise. Thanks for watching, and I would love to hear your comments, what you want to hear more of. I'm recording on Instagram and for YouTube right here, so I've been bouncing back and forth. Thanks so much for watching.